Well, we return to Beijing with heads in our hands after JDG game number 1, but I said for DMO they needed a win. This is a good way to start things off and keep them in the run towards playoffs, because it is a long journey, one where they need to win pretty much everything, and this is how they do it. Hysterics, Preacher, we welcome you back now amidst game 2, where Preacher, Aitong got MVP. So that was well deserved in the early game.
He played that game very well, of course. Aitong, man on your screen, the Sylas. In the late game, he was pretty much posturing with his ultimate all the time. But in the early game, up against the Karthus, who can't really gank, he was making his presence on the map, pretty much helping everybody and punishing overextenders.
Of course, it was that early game, the 12, 13 minutes in, where Aitong was active, hit that top lane gank, and the gank that, excuse me, I know we're about to see, because it was just that one gank that got everything to a good point for DMO.
Yeah, DMO needed to get that nice mid-game power spike. How did they do it? Abuse the fact that Imp and LvMao didn't actually go back to base. Tried to greed for that little extra minion, immediately punished by Aitong with the ulti as well. But that's not all he did. He also pulled the trigger on the very last team fight, being the front line of the of his main squad. As Natural was coming in from the side, it meant that all of his backline was safe for this to free fight.
I mean, Natural kicked ass, man. He actually just went for it. So this was a good sign from the top laner now joining DMO. It was the last kill. Yeah, get him. Show it. Yeah. That was a good finish for Natural, and I think a good game 1 to bring him back into the league.
It's a good finish, but the questions about whether he is what his team needs is still left unanswered. I'm not willing to say that he's good or bad just yet, because I don't think that the first game was really indication.
Bloody great. I mean, honestly, like, I thought Ale was fantastic in Spring as an OMG top laner. Individually, he was a great player. I still think Natural is a great player, and his willingness to take on dangerous traits, his willingness to approach and take on a 1v1 is good.
You calm that down just a little bit, all right? Look, I know that he had a good performance because he was abusing the lane matchup, going into a gangplank. Of course, you can have the early dive as well with your ultimate, but at the end of the day, we don't know. So I'm not saying that he's bad, but I don't know for certain.
I'm telling you, I know.
I'm not arguing if he's a good player or not. I'm arguing whether he's good for the team, because you said 1-7 right now. They're sitting at number 15. They need to make their climb back.
That I'll agree with.
Yeah, I still need to see whether he could be the person to get them on that climb.
I'll agree with 1-7. Is he good for the team? Well, he felt like he was good for the team after game 1. Is he a good player? Yes, he is. He's a great player. You know, I'm big hype on Ale now. Now Natural. It's a good name change as well. I always thought it was going to be Melody coming in. So if you don't know, for DMO, Melody was the sub that continually appeared on the rosters that we got every time DMO played. Melody did not get played here in game 1 at the very least, and there's no roster changes coming into game 2, so we're going to see Natural all again.
I like seeing him then. I'll say that. Look, he's not bad on the screen, but he just needs to prove himself. That's what I'm saying.
He did. Right? Last fight, he proved himself. He kicked him.
I don't know if there are many top laners who can't actually pull the trigger when there are 3 members on the enemy team, but we'll see. We'll see in the second game.
Oh, I mean, there are top laners who can't do that, Preacher. You know, was Chunghong one of them? I don't know. Anyway, he's left. If you didn't hear, Chunghong actually retired, so that's why we do see Natural here in this top lane. But going into game number 2, JDG will be on blue side coming around. And I just don't know what to expect, because, you know, going into game number 1, we talked about the scaling element. We talked about how this team actually works. Their late game team fights are insane. Azir, GP, Karthus. Karthus just has to press R, and they win the fight, because GP will press his R, Ezra will press his R. Their global cop, I call it, will just incinerate.
Blue side 2 for 2, so I want to see them go for more or less the same comp, because it wasn't actually a bad comp, all things considered. Take a look at the way that they played it. Of course, they were down in terms of gold, and the dragon control wasn't the best, but it's naturally to be expected when you're a very late game composition who don't get the power spike like your opponents do at that 2-item mark, which means that they just need to get better execution. They need to make better shot calls, because especially you see that you send your jungler and your support towards the Baron. That is something very risky. So they just need to change that up. Pick and ban was not the question.
No, pick and ban was not the question. You're right. It was the execution at the end of the day that came into question. And for JDG, a lot of their question has been around the Baron. I know, Clement Chu, you're sitting at home right now going, JDG and Baron! You know what's going on? But Clement's probably happy, because he's the only one who predicted DMO.
I saw that. It was he lives and dies by DMO.
I'm going into this right now. Over WE, Clement goes, no, WE over DMO. Over JDG, he goes, no, DMO over JDG. I'm like, statistically, JDG are a better team.
I'm not going to speculate.
How, Clement?
I'm not going to speculate, but
No.
I am going to
Clip
say
me.
that going against the grain
Clip me
is...
and send it to Clementu right now.
Send it.
I'm upset.
You're mad. You're fuming because, look, I can't speculate one way or the other, but
Don't
going
have
against the grain is a great way to actually pick up some points.
No,
and
you
get
know
behind.
what?
That's all
In
I'll say.
woodwork, I was sitting in there. I put my pencil case in the vise in year 7, right? And my, woodwork teacher would always say, stop playing with the vices, because we always used to fiddle with the vices. But now, I know, because of him, that you have to go along the grain. Otherwise, it's crap. It doesn't work.
We had two vastly different childhoods. I have no idea what you're talking about. I never did woodwork.
Australian high school, everyone wearing shorts, playing football, tackling each other.
Now that I experienced.
Yeah.
I was primarily the one being tackled.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens if you got the ball, mate. You're always on the ball, right?
Maybe people just gave it to me to see me fall down.
Oh, they're nice.
Yeah.
I never got the ball. I never got passed. I sat there, I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'll just be, pass it. No one ever passed it.
You know who else didn't get the ball? LvMao.
High school.
He did not get the ball in that game because he picked up that pike and he wanted to kill some people and get his team ahead. But
let's be honest, Aitong did more with his ult than LvMao did.
That's what I was about to say, and you could see the late game in his eyes. He was like, okay, I'm going to execute people with my ultimate late game. Wasn't even there for the fight for all of that.
Yeah. Hey, really good point, Preacher. I don't think I saw a good LvMao ult.
Didn't kill anybody.
That's surprising. We had so much high expectations for LvMao coming into this series, and especially when you see his pike, when you see a roaming support that fits under his wing so well, you have higher expectations set on it.
It sort of looks like it didn't fit into the team composition because they wanted to go as late as they could without actually engaging JDG's composition, engaging DMO's composition, sorry, but when you take a look at it, obviously this pike wants to get his team towards that, but how can you actually do that when realistically you're looking for that last one fight to just kill people once you're on full items?
There's opportunity to influence the mid lane. I could see LvMao wanted to get across the map quicker. Even the top lane gank was there, and you could see why. So I think it also comes back to LvMao wasn't able to do anything past the top lane gank that came off from Aitong. So JDG overstaying, as you mentioned in game 1, that also bit them in the back. Yeah,
I don't think that was a primary throw, but it definitely is something that can be tightened up. The fact that Imp was greeting because he wanted to get the extra minions. Your Rift Herald's pretty much dead anyway. There's no charge, so yeah, should have backed off in that instance. It should have actually respected the spikes.
All right, crunch time again though, Preacher. So going into game 2, you were happy with the draft from both sides, and I'll agree. I think they were interesting drafts and fun to watch, but now let's see if anything changes, because already Aurelia, Karma, Lux taken away. Same bans from DMO. The Jace is there too. Let's go.
A mirror matchup. I mean, Karthus is open. Why not just slap it on? But instead,
they don't want Imp to lose his Kaiser again, and I understand that.
I mean, GALA performed very well for himself. He was pretty much the person who was going in with the ulti. You remember his W was actually tagging people, putting the Karthus down to no HP at all.
Remember, Imp has played 10 games on Kaiser. His next highest played at 4 is Sivir. 6 game difference. This will be number 11 for Imp. No one else has played this champion that much.
Proficient player. He just wants to get to the late game, and it's not in the same way that Sivir wave clears and just make sure that your opponents can never actually get towards your turret. It's because you want to go for the fight. But one thing that complements the Kaiser is, of course, hard engage. Now the Nautilus is taken on the other side. How can they actually bridge that tool?
And it can also sit her down in the lane. That's right. So Kaiser, great around these mid-game skirmishes, around the objectives in wide open spaces where she can use her ult to reposition. Let's see what complements this bottom lane, or if JDG have the Karthus in mind, no. We're going to take away the Sylas this game.
And it would be weird if they didn't pick up the Corki right now, because easily banned away by DMO in the second phase means that you have to go for an A-tier support, A-tier mid laner, sorry, as opposed to the 2 very standard ones. But it is up to them, because of course they can also pick up the top laner while they're at it.
Put him down. Put him down. I mean,
that is ridiculous.
It just bothers me so much. I don't know why. I think it's the little body and the big head. No. Oh my God. Thank you to the solar god. That is incredible. Now, LvMao, he's the only one who's played it in the LPL. In the bottom lane, this man is a clinic with it.
great synergy with the Kaiser as well. Even before level 6, if you can get your E and your Q off onto somebody, 4 stacks of your Plasma. With your ultimate as well, you're proccing it by yourself. So it's really great synergy with Imp, and they've also got the counter towards the Nautilus. If Nautilus fumbles his Q, it's pretty much just a dead man walking.
Means that we have to look at the AD carry pick coming in from DMO, because now it's open, JDG can ban it away.
Yeah, but similarly, DMO can just ban out the Corki, because we have seen that was a natural counter, but not going to be taking that anymore.
I mean, of course, it just goes well into the lane, so far being from a counter at the moment. I like the Corki into the matchup. Gangplank first, though, away from Zoom, which he happily picked blind in game 1. Xayah will be the response from JDG. I talked about AD carries. GALA plays one hell of a Xayah.
Interesting to see that there's not actually a high priority onto the Aatrox right now. LPL definitely loves the Aatrox, and soon to be nerfed in the next patch. Still very strong right now. Yeah. If it's not banned away, then it should be one of the priorities. Very
high win rate at the moment. I'd like to come back to GALA, though, because if we're talking AD carry bans, note as well, DMO ban Renekton, another solo lane, but let's wait and see. JDG know that GALA only has 4 AD carries in his pool. Sivir, Kaiser, Xayah, and Jinx. And you know Jinx is situational.
Take her off.
Xayah's already gone. Kaiser's gone. That means it's most likely going to be a Sivir game, but even the Kallista's taken away.
Even the Sivir is off the board for DMO, so can't go for that. You were just mentioning the Jinx. It's situational, but you know what situation is? No other ADCs available.
I mean, with the Nautilus pairing in that lane, you can do it.
Still very dangerous though, because Jinx has very low mobility unless she gets the first kill. So if she gets tagged on by LvMao's E, then there's no real counterplay for the Jinx because she's rooted in place for a very long time.
I mean, Kaiser, we're going to have to play this one out. A Jinx locked in for GALA. Here we go.
Yeah, naturally have to take the cleanse as well, but
not this again.
Boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, you missed this. Now, against BLG, Yagao picked Varus mid. It was the situation. Oh, God.
What is this?
No, I thought that was a Nasus.
Wait, that was immediately.
That was immediately. Oh, God. Okay, I'm back. Yagao picked this up as a counter in lane. It's going to be Comet Varus, full lethality, and the Azir gets wrecked early on. So I like this from JDG again, but you were surprised at the top lane matchup. It is Fiora versus the Mordekaiser.
One thing at a time. The Varus was locked in first. Let's talk about it. The poke means that Azir has to go back at very awkward times. Luckily for the Azir, the Nash's Tooth first means that you don't need very expensive items. But going into the top lane, that Fiora, she is going to have a very rough time. I mean, in the 1v1, it's great because she can always use her ulti. But other than that, before the level 6.
So, here's the matchup that I know, Preacher. For the Mordekaiser, Fiora has been the go-to. You say it's going to be rough. I disagree. Fiora has the window of parrying the ultimate. If Mordekaiser takes Realm of Death and lands it on top of the Fiora, she presses Riposte and it's null. That is the window, and that is the counterplay, while Fiora has been such a good response into the new Mordekaiser.
Look, you're not wrong, and the level 6 with Fiora does naturally counter tanks without a lot of mobility, but before then, in the laning phase, she's just going to be smacked by the Q time and time again. A lot of bonus damage, and Mordekaiser doesn't even have to move to melee range to get it.
I mean, towards a 6, that's what we'll be looking for, though, so that'll come quickly, and Fiora versus Mordekaiser, that means Zoom's going to be in a difficult position, and remember, I was talking Ale, now natural up. What was this best champion, Preacher? What did I say? Fiora. Through and through, this man 1v5'd on Fiora. He is a machine, he's a god, and now we get to see it. After DMO win game 1, they're looking to make the run. They're looking to stay in playoff contention, and this is how they do it against JDG in game 2. Now, Preach, a quick question. Which level 1 do you prefer?
Well, there's not 5 members on DMO, so if they crash, it's going to be 4v5.
Yeah, okay, well spotted.
Yeah. I was just going to say that Fiora's off on the top side, so I don't know why DMO are going way too deep without their 5th member.
JDG were waiting for them to go bottom side brush, but it won't happen. End of the day, we defuse, but what I love about this is DMO were able to get deep wards towards Raptors.
Oh, they're staying.
they'll be spotting out here. JDG moving in.
Oh, what are you doing, guys? 3 members against 5?
Will have absconded duck. That's a great lens. Into the 2-man death grasp. Zoom, that was incredible. GALA gets jumped on as well. Flushes out. First blood for DMO.
So well played by them as well. They knew that the Nautilus wants to invade into this team comp, so they bring all 5 members across. Didn't actually level his Q at level 1. Mordekaiser could use the grasp.
I'll apologize. JDG, of course, got first blood. But wow.
You're excused because that was pretty heavy action.
And you know what? On Aitong as well, late start to the clear, heading towards Raptors. He'll be a couple of seconds behind, and immediately Imp gets first blood. The Kaiser in a very good position. Yeah,
and traditionally we haven't seen the Olafs actually do too well once they've been set behind, because they usually want to go into the enemy jungle in 1v1. Can't do that anymore, especially not into Flawless, who can certainly just run out of situations to fight back.
Well, there we go. Quick trades there, Preacher. Natural hits level 2 first in this lane. Zoom at half health. And remember, we talked about this lane being a counter. Natural already up in CS, gets the shove off and can drop some early vision himself.
Look, Natural has a better level 1 because Zoom had to take his grasp just to get the first blood for his team, but he's still putting in some effort into it. Now with his Q as well, he can naturally shove it out into the Fiora and always push it towards her turret. That's going to open up Flawless for some lane ganks if he wants to go topside.
If anyone's wondering what that is, the probie towards GALA, who just gets locked on down by LvMao. Quick burst trades. It turns it right back on, and GALA gets some damage down, but that's a net win by JDG.
JDG once again pushing them out, and you can see that the heals are way too strong. I mean, every single time they go forward to last hit, Jinx, at a very low level, barely has any extra range on her Q, so she will constantly be within punishing range by LvMao.
Already shoved out. Look at the size of this wave that's going to crash. The fact that you're up against a Leona Kaiser, I mean, it's making it difficult. There's part of the interaction we talked about. Obliterate, blocked by the riposte here from Natural.
Yep. Very high cooldown though, so if you want to use the block out of Q, which is relatively low without a mana cost either, he's bot.
Let's look bot, Flawless, the flash is down onto GALA, the dives there. JDG, they're taking it up with LvMao. He takes a second, a third. Mark will go down as well, but it's a 2-for-1 trade with it dropping to GALA. But look at Aitong coming in. The Olaf wants to 1v2. He finds the damage onto LvMao. Now the attack speed's there as well. Twila's in. Flawless needs to run. The mid lanes now join the fight as Yagao's trying to breach around the side, but Aitong feeling the wrath of the Vikings.
2 kills over to him, however, 1 picked up by GALA on the backside there, so it's not the worst trade in the world. However, the acceleration to give her the BF sword on the first back is going to be so tough to deal with the Leona.
Yeah, you're right. After that first blood, it means bigger things. Falls in Scuttle and River. Yagao can join the fight, but Mark's coming in alongside Twila. This is going to be a 3v2 if it goes on long enough. Falls wants to take the fight. He smites it down, hits level 4 himself, but Twila, that's a big trade. Flaw's still hanging around.
They got to move out of there, and JD don't actually want to be in prolonged fights. The best thing that... Okay. What are you doing, guys? I mean,
he almost hit that.
I was about to say, the best thing that Yagao actually wants is just to poke with his Q and not actually engage any sustained damage, but they went for that and they were losing it, so it's very smart of JD to actually disengage, all things said. Still walk out with 3 kills for 2.
But let's talk about the mid 2v2 for a second while we have a break, because the mid 2v2 for the side of JDG is that one-hit wonder, right? Flawless finds the engage, abscond, abduct. Yagao follows up with a W-empowered Q, and suddenly your health disappears. Like, Twila will not be able to trade back, and Aitong, will not be able to find the same method. So I like this for JDG. I think there's a lot of power through this mid lane that they can exploit.
Well, the even better thing is that there are very clear windows for Flawless to come into here. It's Yagao actually using his Q, because this is going to be a lethality Varus in the mid lane, to constantly poke out Twila. And if Twila gets to about 50% HP and he burns his shifting sands, that is the perfect time for Flawless to absolutely punish him. No other way for him to get out. And you can see already the teleport burn on Twila, no great backs.
That's why there's been a lot of vision prioritized around the mid lane. Control ward, bottom side for DMO. JDG control ward top side in that brush, and the Scuttle goes alongside it. Actually, double Scuttle here for Flawless nice and early off the back of that bottom lane trade. And we wait and wonder how the 2v2 will connect, how it will develop, because other lanes here for JDG going pretty well, actually.
I'm going to predict that it's going to be very far and few between that we actually see the 2v2, just because Yagao's going to be poking out constantly and Twila's always going to be going back and then walking to lane. So eventually you're going to see a very pronounced CS differential between these two.
I was just umming and ahhing about the top lane though, Breacher. Remember the interaction we talked about this will be a test for Natural. See how he returns to the league, because Fiora should have the edge now. Of course, a bit of damage there with Tiamat too. So Teleport going to be channeled, and Realm of Death available for Zoom as well.
However, there are so many things that you need to dodge out with your opposed. You need to dodge out the pull, but you also need to dodge out the ultimate as well.
No, you just use it for the ulti, Preacher. Like, screw the pull, man. We just need that for the ult.
If you get, if the pull comes down, then you really want to queue out of it, because if you don't, the Mordekaiser with his passive, you know that he can start ticking you down with the passive damage.
That's true. If the ult doesn't come through, the damage is still there, so you're exactly right. Top lane will eventually get shoved in, but Fiora with an advantage, while Flawless spotted out on a great ward in the river. Level 5 Sylas now can't get into the lane as easy, and Aitong's coming through to challenge.
Yeah, already in the bottom lane, trapped up.
That's instant lockdown. LvMao has hit him. Now the Ignite's there, and they're taking the 2v2. Turret helps GALA, and he gets excited. That's all you need. Aitong coming in for the fight as well.
Doesn't know that Flawless is here. Just going to get disengaged though. That was so well done by them, because they knew that LvMao was going forward, had to bait the W as well, walk forward so the W would hit them and give turret aggro onto LvMao, taking the kill from there.
Yagao can walk through as well. This is the extra bonus that Yagao will have the shove onto the mid lane Azir. Flawless was spotted out in the ward, I pointed out before, but he'll now be able to pick up the Scuttle Crab and control that bottom side. It's a mountain to start off, so you can see why the junglers want to be down here ever more.
Something else to keep your mind on is, of course, the lane priority, because Zoom can always shove this out if he wants to. He just hasn't, because he hasn't been using his Q to perma-push the wave against the Fiora. Natural, of course, having a better time if he's not under turret with the...
GALA's going to be dove here. Level 6 from Flawless. LvMao doesn't have the solar flare, but he
Mark's
senses
not
something.
Mark's
He's backing. GALA, they know he's there. LvMao, start walking. You have mobility boots.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to leave it. Does mean GALA's forced out, and even though he got the kill on the back end, 20 CS behind and building from Imp.
Yeah, but Mark's going to come in here. He should... Look, if your ADC backs, there's no way that you should actually be going into here either.
Depth charge taken, flash burn immediately. Respect out of Mark, but this is the turret plating to be taken. Wave is going to crash in, and Imp is so accelerated in this game.
Yeah, they have the natural wave clear with the Kaiser Q, so they can easily get rid of this while they wait. Flawless is still here, and with the Nautilus ulti, a lot of damage as well as the CC to complement.
Wave finally there. JDG, they've already built up gold lead in this game, and the turret plating is going to add even more. Imp is now 30 CS ahead. Look at this. GALA and Mark can't get down. Aitong needs to be here, otherwise Flawless will get the 2v3.
Yeah, they can't even get vision down into the Tribe Rush, so they don't know for certain whether he's left or not, but they take the risk anyway because they can't afford to lose the turret. That is worse than losing their lives at this point.
I mean, Mark walks in, Flawless, after taking the depth charge, going to use it to the mid lane. Twila has flash, but he can't use it in time. They stick to him like glue. He burns the ult, burns the flash, and Twila getting pushed back in this lane as well, while LvMao dodges out of one, not the other, walks back for the undertow and flashes himself. Aggressive early game. DMO are trying to match that tempo in the bottom lane.
Junglers burning flashes, that's what we like to see, but one thing that is punished very heavily is, of course, mid lane. Twila having to flash out of there, and he's completely forced out of lane. He needs to walk back to his second turret and then use his TP back in. That is a lot of resources wasted. Take a look, already a 12 CS differential. Can't be cleared up anytime soon.
Wow, this is just huge. Huge across the board from JDG, and a much more aggressive early game. A change in pace from game one, and the compositions that we want to see that put onus on Imp when he can perform to that level. This game he needs to, because there's a lot of resources that have been put in down there, and Flawless has spent a lot of time making sure that Kaiser can now hit that one item that we see.
Yeah, another thing that we have to talk about is, of course, the discrepancy in CS in the bottom lane. For the longest time, Imp actually had the BF sword, which was an advantage in damage over GALA. So always pushing them in and forcing them to lose CS because of the W always threatening means that GALA has been having a very rough game. A Kerche shard in his inventory means that he won't be at a power spike anytime soon. Obviously, they have the defense mechanism if they want to dive bottom lane.
But the bottom lane being this far ahead means JDG can start pressuring some of these invades. A blue buff to be taken here by Flawless. Imp can just walk down here by himself. He's that comfortable, even against the Nautilus Jinx, that in the lane, LvMao can continue to roam, and that'll move to other sides of the map, meaning mid lane gets affected, but Aitong, not even safe to do this Rift Herald at this time of the game.
Standing on top of a Scuttle Crab means that you just get spotted out, and immediately Zoom offers to lose some of his CS just to put down vision for his team, disables Aitong from actually getting this. So Aitong lost his blue buff, didn't even pick up a Herald.
Because at the end of the day, JDG throughout the map are going so well. Zoom was the lane that was on the weak side, but he's playing it well. He hasn't altered yet. He hasn't needed to. And throughout the top side, you know, Yagao can roam there as well. While JDG do the Dragon, this will be the error, or rather the engage from DMO, excuse me.
Imp
wants to go forward. There's the lands on top. The solar flare lands onto two members and they engage instantly onto DMO. Marco's gone, but Zoom is teleported in. Howdly doodly. Yagao for good measure as 5 members of JDG are ready to go again.
Immediately abusing the team fight. That's what Zoom is known for. Leaves natural 1v1 champion to a 1v0, and now they're going to race the turret.
And they're staying. I mean, this is great. All 5 members are sticking around. GALA may have walked too far forward as he's going to turn it. The X-Tech explosive block, it doesn't work out. And Twila ults underneath turret. The damage goes over to Zoom. Imp 3 hits, flashes away, but he still gets it. 7-4 on the scoreboard, and JDG are ready for the bloody action.
Zoom just doing Zoom things, and JD know that they have to force the issue in the bottom lane in order to get the Mordekaiser away from the 1v1 against Fiora, ultimately working out in their favor as Zoom, as well as the rest of his team, pick up that turret and kills.
Yep, he'll lose a lot in the top lane, however, as Natural has been farming away. Aitong actually might be able to pick up the Rift Herald, but look at this. Control Ward's going to spot him out. JDG have swapped their bottom lane around, which means they're coming up here. Which means if JDG get both the Mountain and the Rift Herald, then this game's going to be even worse.
This is it. They know for certain that they have to be pulling the trigger. Ultimate burn on the LvMao. Barely any CC or damage because he isn't being aggressed on. And now back onto Aitong. Obviously burning the ulti, but just the damage, raw damage coming out from all of this comp, especially with Zoom. They know that they can just back off, wait for the turret, wait for the wave to crash, and then they can start diving the turret. It is really Zoom pretty much taking this up along with LvMao to start the dive.
GALA walking way too far forward here as well. That cost him. I mean, Yagao just walks through the turret, flashes away eventually. He died in the end, by the way. I missed that one, but it's kind of hilarious.
You knew exactly what was in GALA's mind. He said, I need to kill somebody in order to defuse this dive. So it wasn't the worst case scenario. If he just waited to go under the turret, he would have died anyway.
But that's what this game 2 has been about, right? DMO trying to defuse JDG's early lead. And if you get to those 40, 50 minutes, DMO will outright outscale. Jinx, Azir, Fiora, like these 3 champions will blow apart JDG, but they're not letting them get there. They're not slowing down, and JDG are forcing DMO into these bad trades. 3.5 gold now up, and they eventually going to get the Rift Herald on top of that Dragon they got before.
They nullify their weaknesses as well. They don't want the 1v1s, they want the team fights, and teleporting down means that they could get it. Take a look at what the damage was for them as well. Top lane turret still stands, which means that gold was not activated by Natural. Natural isn't as head as he thinks he is, rotating both of the 2 top laners down to the bottom lane. It's the same situation over and over. Wait for the TP and then instigate another dive because Zoom can do it with his ulti.
Of course, the trade-off for the 80 carries to move to that top side and help secure the Rift Herald. The match here from GALA and Mark, who GALA still doesn't have his first item. You pulled it out before. The Kachea's Shard delays that 1-item power spike, but he just needed some damage to match the extra gold we can see here from Imp.
Yeah, that's just so much extra turret plating. I mean, obviously didn't fully go to Imp because it was his team taking down that bottom turret so fast, but in the meantime, we completely forgot to actually touch on the Rift Herald that was taken by Flawless, now about to get pushed into the mid lane turret.
And you're going to give the gold over to 4 people. JDG are going to get this easily. There's no way DMO can test it. It falls even further out of favor. There is no way right now DMO can stand a chance against anyone across JDG. Even the Mordekaiser has his first die.
Mainly due to the fact that even if they wanted to take a straight 5v5, Fiora not as useful as the Mordekaiser in any situation. So always DMO, they have to be playing towards their advantages. Fiora in a side lane, why not gank it? Why not put it into the Mordekaiser? Well, obviously because he can use that ulti and just get it into a 1v1 anyway. So it's very difficult to actually execute on DMO's win conditions.
Right now, part of it would be, okay, can we steal away an Ocean Dragon? And that'll still be a no with the way the bottom wave's pushing up, with the way that mid is controlled. JDG right now looking in form, I should say. And a great recovery from game number 1. But of course it gets to that point of getting to the mid game and making sure that execution continues.
That's it, but one other pressure point that DMO can play towards if they want to get back into the game is to go towards the Varus. I mean, Yagao is still very squishy. Obviously, a lethality build means that he wants to poke with his Q. Very weak in long sustained trades as well, so Aitong can completely negate that ulti.
Waiting to see where JDG go next. It'll be topside pressure here for now, but Aitong in a position to counteract. Look at the ward through the topside river. Look at the control that JDG have been able to get now into the red side jungle of DMO. And that will enable them to push up. They spotted out Aitong about 30 seconds ago. They know he's up here. Pings are actually going down, and Aitong won't be able to slip into this lane uncontested while mid. An ult flashed away from Yagao's level 11 though. He'll have that up in another 60 seconds.
Force the flash out from Twila. They roughly know that Aitong is here. They shouldn't be going that aggressive. LvMao, nice ward.
Yeah, he like you said, he knows. So the 2v2 safe for now. Aitong backs away. He's up in CS, but it's the extra goal that JDG have gotten as a collective unit that has helped them.
And the best thing for JDG to do right now is just to chill. There's still a few seconds left on Zoom's teleport, sorry. So don't actually start anything until it's up at the top lane.
Imp and LvMao, not sure how this one happened. They almost got caught out, and Aitong almost died on the back end. He might regret that. He tried to make a return gank.
Yeah, also had to burn the ultimate as well just for the extra shield. But now the TP is up, they'd actually prefer to take this fight. Yagao's moving to the top side. You can see what their minds are up to.
Spotted out by a ward though, so GALA's going to back away. And the Solar Flare available for LvMao. It's the last outer turret that JDG want to take. And this time, finally, they should get it.
Yep, they have complete priority. Natural is even farming the jungle, so he's not pushing out his wave. This is a worst-case scenario for DMO because they just haven't read it.
Even with an Infinity Edge, GALA doesn't want to walk near him because the Imp has the Quinsus, has the Storm Razors he picked up first. 2-item Kaiser with a bounty on her head is almost 60 CS up on GALA, and this game has been the story of Imp and LvMao, and finally we can praise it because it has been a strong one to boot.
Well, if it's a story of Imp and LvMao, then they've definitely come out ahead in the laning phase. I mean, it was given to them because their team was rotating down towards them in order to bust down that turret, but they've made a lot of good work out of it, already getting that turret through their latent 2v2. Didn't even have to burn the TP from Zoom, so they can start pressuring other points on the map. Checking out the timings right now, a minute until Baron, not what you want to turn your eyes towards, but the next Infernal is very juicy.
Yeah, 3 minutes 30 until that one. Maybe Baron becomes a hotspot later on as Zoom. Still haven't seen a Death Realm.
He hasn't needed it.
Well, I mean, he's in a 1v1. He always wants it, but he's negated by Natural. The pick still working out in the Fiora with Trinity Force. Will now be going towards the Ravenous Hydra second. Well, Oblivion Orm picked up there for Zoom in the solo lane, but JDG have other plans. They're looking for an angle through the side of the mid lane. And they're so far pushed up in the enemy blue side jungle.
Once again, stealing a very important ultimate. The Nautilus one allows you to do damage as well as the CC. It's very good onto Sylas, and they're using it to pressure bot.
Really quick push here. JDG have the damage to siege this up, and with the poke from Yagao, DMO don't get near. They lose another objective, and this time around, for JDG, they'll have even better access towards the mid lane.
That is just busted wide open for JDG. I mean, if they want to rotate towards the top side, then there's going to be such a long lane to push for DMO, so the response is difficult and crazy. But Twila is managing to get something for free, although I would definitely say that the bot inner is better than the top outer.
I will say that Twila came through this laning phase better than I've seen. I think it was Kuro who played the same pick for sure, that struggled against the Varus. So Twila, props to him. He's come out with only a 20 CS disadvantage. Almost got cornered up in the top lane just then, put the Sun turret down to save himself, but Twila getting some more gold on the board, and that should be the Zhonya's Hourglass now, the 2-item Azir completed.
Doing the best that he can. So it's not necessarily the CS discrepancy that we should be watching for. It's how late he actually spikes on the Azir. You need to get him into the team fights and constantly DPSing. But if he hasn't got his items, then he can't be doing that for the team. So always wary of that. DMO don't want to take the team fights.
Because Twila is a great team fighter. Twila has never been counted on for his laning phase, I should say. Especially in spring when he came into the league as a newbie. This mid laner was not highlighted for his laning phase because he always lost it. But Twila, when he got to his team fights, he played it outstandingly. We'll see what the 1v1 entails though, because Flaw's looking to take it with a depth charge. Gonna bring LvMao in. That's the Emperor's Divide. The flash from LvMao. Solar Flare on top. So well executed there from the Leona.
Goodbye. They knew that he didn't have a flash, so they immediately went for it. LvMao using his flash just to secure the kill. Better than nothing. And once again, setting this mid laner back. Twila, he needs to get into team fights, but his itemization and just how late he's hitting these spikes is not working for him.
And I thought he'd have a second item by now, but he doesn't. There's ultimate Chains of Corruption onto GALA, half health. The double item Varus now into effect, and JDG get the pick, they get the damage, it's Baron time.
And watch for Aitong as well, because this poke is actually going to force him completely out of this part of the jungle.
One hit, two hit, he almost dies. Yagao has the poke, he sends it out, oh my god! Baron will go down, but Aitong, remembering his ult, will not give him the blast cone.
Doesn't matter how long it takes to take the Baron, if you're forcing the enemy jungler out, no smite available. And like you just said, the ultimate, he couldn't even get into that in the first place.
I'm just going to say this, Preacher, if Aitong didn't have ult and he pressed that, I think he gets hit mid-air with the piercing arrow from Varus.
Yeah, he would have died. I mean, he was sending himself backwards, so he was actually fortunate that he didn't have it.
But look, either way, it was the pressure that was built up against the jungler. It was the power of Yagao and his zoning and his pick almost onto GALA that gives JDG Baron here in Game 2 a 6k gold lead at 22 minutes and an Infernal to make it another Elemental.
And the best thing about it is that JDG are not actually playing towards their weaknesses, which is the side lanes. What they want to do instead is always group up. And with the TP...
play to their strengths. Yep, on to Natural. Has to flash away. The Soul Flare comes in. Aitong doesn't have an ult. First an easy kill over to him. 5-1 and 2. Kaiser almost towards 3 items.
Just not respecting where people are in the jungle, especially when your opponents have a Baron buff. It could prove very deadly.
I mean, GALA not respecting even next to the turret. Yagao sends out an ult, forces the flash. Twila feeling the matchup once again. JDG have been all over Dominus here in Game 2.
Don't forget, even though Zoom doesn't want to be in a 1-4, he's going just because of the Baron buff, providing it for all of his creeps. Take a look at the 2 lanes that are currently shopping. Wow, Natural's finally losing this, and he's losing it hard with the just one. I mean,
now he's finally behind enough, right, that he hasn't got the second item over Zoom. Item advantage for the Mordekaiser means he can keep pressing Q, hit him hard, and Mark taking his own depth charge while the rest of JDG push that mid lane inhibitor.
Not only that, but they can rotate to the bot lane very easily. Wave pushing up once again, more than a minute on Baron. They can easily get 2 in hits.
So much wave clear here on JDG as well. They mean nothing. And JDG continue to push in, double inhibitor. That's easily done. This is pretty much done because DMO right now, they need another 20 minutes. They need a miracle fight at that.
Yeah, they weren't waiting for 5 members. They weren't waiting for anything at all. There was no point throughout that push in which DMO would have had a favorable fight. So they just take what they absolutely have to. 2 inhibitors now down for themselves as well. And they need to start picking up the scraps, but it's getting harder and harder. Even the wards start betraying them as they can't even get into their own jungle safely.
Another mountain coming up next, but I don't think we see it this game. I was wondering why on the side of DMO, Twila, I was waiting for the Sonya's Hourglass. I thought, where is it? He optimized him for the QSS because this game he has to. He has to play the defensive path. Up in the top lane, might have to use it pretty soon.
Yeah, so check it out how everything has gone against DMO. You got to praise JDG. Shutting down Aitong early means that Olaf can't go into the lanes, making sure that Twila never gets his item spikes so that he can never DPS in the middle of fights. And Natural on the side lanes. Couldn't even get one solo kill or even push Zoom out of that lane as well. Everything was coordinated and just shut down by JDG.
It felt like we're watching a chapter of FPX at one point. And, team that we'll see a little bit later, JDG, the bottom lane dives continued and continued. And I think they had a plan in mind coming into Game 2. Great execution this time around. And with only 1 inhibitor left, that's the damage we can expect. JDG not slowing down. This could be the final push.
They're going for it. Here's fight.
Could be the final fight. Crewman Dragon with Death Grasp. They jump in. It's the Solar Flare. I said perfect execution. I stand by it. Twila almost dies from a Q, and here it comes again. Oh! The flash from Yagao, but JDG straight on the Nexus turret, and this was perfectly done. The ultimate pops here from Natural, the grasp once again. JDG don't care, the kills are done, they're hitting the Nexus. Twila almost dies anyway, but we're at 1 apiece here in the series.
That's what I like to see, Hysterics. JDG just shutting down any chance DMO had of coming back. All 3 win conditions, none of them were met for them, and very slowly they finally get the take. And I mean, now evening up the score 1-1, I'll tell you one thing. I like that Baron call in that game.
This was so much better. What a recovery from JDG, and it did come off the first blood where They waited, they were patient, and they walked into DMO.
That was one of it, yeah. Aitong actually being shut down, of course, MVP of last game, now couldn't actually make an impact onto the game. Of course, he could focus on natural, but didn't even go towards Zoom because Zoom was permanently under his turret. Very well played by JDG, just waited out, and yeah, the TPs were too strong.
I hyped up the top lane matchup. For natural, it was always going to be a dangerous one, but we never saw the ult from Zoom.
No.
I actually didn't see a Death Realm that game. Zoom never used it. There was no point because Natural would find himself in the countering game.
Never needed it as well, and you wanted to see the 1v1, but that never happened either. Always Zoom clearing his wave under the turret. Fiora can't do anything to you while you're under the turret, and then later on, as soon as your TP is up, affect the bottom lane because that's what Zoom's known for.
Because also, maybe Aitong could play for the dive in the top lane, get a response. It was Rift Herald at the attempt, but JDG rotated quicker, faster. Like, there was no point in that game where I think DMO had a window to bridge into their mid-late game comp.
At no point did you actually see multiple members of DMO outnumber JDG. So not only did JDG have more members, but they also had a better spike at all points. Azir is naturally the late game that you want to play towards, but if you take a look at how awkwardly he had to back, there was no spike from him at all. Only ending on 1.5 items by the end of the game. I mean, it was a very quick game, but yeah, that was a shutdown.
I mean, more so in this game that the whole of map was dictated by the bottom side, and JDG took over. And the dives kept happening, and because GALA and Mark were forced so far behind, so many elements of JDG came online quicker. Even Yagao going down and feeding off the resources.
I like that because I liked how Flawless devoted his time towards bottom lane, actually giving up his farming time, but because he sat in the tri-bush for so long, bought about 3 turret plates for his bottom lane, and there was no response at all. So from that point onwards, it was all scaled, and even though the Jinx had relatively the same amount of kills, the turret plates made a huge difference in the 2v2.
A lot more to break down in this one. We're going to game 3. We're going to have a break, then return. Going straight head forward. Be right back.
这皮太好了吧？不打他吗？
直接反打猫咪的大招，
这一波直接秒的，伤害太高了。
但是反身拉过来，
尼瓦
有秒，
大家定了3个人。哦呦，这个大招效果太好了，炮被秒掉，还能跳下来也是没用的，只能自己等死了。
后有大问题啊！
而且杰克拉姆这波也很危险，交闪现，但凯南这个位置很僵硬，对到3个人，对到4个人，全部要死啊！哦呦，怎么站这个位置？就在这里，这个位置，对方没发现Rookie的位置啊！泡芙又是泡芙。哦呦，还好就在旁边，这边藏了3个人，这边就从当上炸一下，凯南看见打的效果很一般 ，X 被秒了 ，Q 步也被切掉，这一波就是 Rookie 这个配合泥王配合宝蓝，就是他这个中野辅，埃及的中野辅这3个英雄决定了他们这把就有翻盘点，
这波还要继续的追击，一定是不能放走。
这一波肯定要包的，Rookie在旁边继续骚扰，只要逼人的技能惹上来了，一技能拉一下，来自己可能要死了。一级的伤害很高，宝蓝也往下抢，
拉开了，
没人管女血吗？九诺也上来，Rookie也上来，啊，总算是Rookie带走了女血，Rookie这把真的是
，Rookie这把看得出来很想赢
啊，
但是经济上面大家一目了然，
人头太多了，这边
人头太多了。哎，飞机，哦呦，飞机就过来要吃人啊，飞机，
哎呦，这么不讲道理啊！
哎呦，双 W 拉开距离，
哎，这在干嘛？王牌飞行员了，
王牌飞行员，
这还要死一个，完了！
这些人在，
这在干嘛呀？这真的是，
所有人开始秀起来了，
很有自信啊！现在，
这一波艾希
也去遭遇，
你刚才找我兄弟，
这一波的话，秒射一些，还真不好说，吸起来了，吸起来了，
而且他
有护盾，有护盾。哎呦，这里的话没有抬到，华健这里开启一个金身，但要等死了。